My name is Marcus Green. I'm 27 years old, and I need to tell you what my father did to me, I said into the mic, while the wedding DJ's lights still spun slow across the Buckhead ballroom, and the usher who'd told me, "Deliveries in back, he's black," shrank into the corner like a scolded child. The music had stopped because I'd used the owner's key, the key they gave the on-call maintenance lead, to pause the party. My brother Drew's tuxedo jacket hung open. His bride's eyes were doing that fast blink brides do when their makeup's about to run. And my daddy, Charles Green, blue suit, white hair, old money aura, was caught mid-smirk, pretending he didn't know me. "Where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments," I said, because I'd promised myself if I told it, I'd tell it plain. By the end of this story, you'll understand why I had to stand up in this hall, and in our church, and everywhere they tried to hide the truth. Let me take you back, but not too far. The moment that delivered me here to this polished floor started a few hours earlier, when that usher looked at my skin and saw a delivery, not a son. Dad nodded at him like he was confirming a package. I still feel the heat in my ears, remembering that nod. I had walked in with my gift, a simple thing wrapped in dollar store paper, and they turned me into freight. I walked out, and when I came back, I brought the judge, who owed me a favor, the key that stops music, and the clause that shuts down parties for folks who think no blacks allowed is still a thing you can say with your chest. But that wasn't even the worst part. Before the wedding, before the mic, there was a one-room place in the West End where my shoes sat by the heater with duct tape wrapped round the toes, trying to keep out rain that snuck in through cracked soles. My mattress sat on milk crates. The fridge held an onion, 2 eggs, and a half-used bottle of insulin my doctor said I needed to stay ahead of my sugar creeping up. My back hurt year-round from the forklift at the Southside Distribution Center, and my knees had that crunchy sound big men in their 20s shouldn't hear this early. At night, I mopped the marble squares of a downtown office building, pushing that yellow cart past law firm doors, where men that looked like my dad paid for other men to write lies so pretty they sounded like truth. It was quiet there at night, quiet enough to hear the facts in your own head. It was there I remembered everything. They said I was confused. They always said that. "Son, you getting confused again," Daddy would say, breaking his words up like he was trying on my voice for a minute. "He's confused," my sister Beth would tell church ladies in hats so wide they had to turn sideways through the door. It worked on folks who wanted to believe good things about people who looked like them. Family is supposed to be safe. Family is supposed to be shelter. Family is supposed to tell you you're not crazy when the world turns you inside out. But mine looked at me, same blood on paper, different skin on sight, and turned their faces away. The first crack in their story showed up in my mailbox like a bill. When I was 19, a letter from the Social Security Administration came with my name correct and my address wrong, forwarded twice like it was chasing me. It said, "Your representative payee on record is Charles Green." I remember reading that line 3 times, the way you read a sentence that don't make sense. Representative payee meant someone else was getting money for me. I didn't know there was money for me. My mama had died when I was 17. Kiara, brown-skinned and tender, quick with a spatula on Sunday mornings, pancakes first, bacon second, always humming. She and Daddy had been a secret that got too big to hide. They wrapped it in legal words, acknowledgement of paternity, and put my last name on me like a bandage over a bruise. After she passed, there were supposed to be survivor benefits. I didn't see a dime. I called Daddy, voice cold as the marble I mopped at night. "What's this about you being my payee? What money, Daddy?" He sighed like I'd stolen his air. "Son, you getting confused again. You know we've been protecting you. We pay your bills. It's just paperwork." I held the phone to my ear and looked at my rent notice. Past due. I looked at my Breeze card balance. Negative. I looked at my hands. Cracked, brown, strong. "What bills you paying?" "Everything. Around $5,000 a month." He said it like a man reading off a menu, quick, casual. "Son, we take care of you." I stood there in that dollar store, counting out quarters and dimes for a loaf of bread, while my sister's post flashed by on my cracked Android, her holding a Louis Vuitton clutch, my daddy's arm around her, and Drew, all of them matched in winter whites, captioned, "Family First." If only I'd known what she was really doing. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was the way the lie grew legs and traveled. I'd sit in New Hope Baptist, middle pews, and hear folks whisper, "Bless his heart, they paying his way." I got pulled aside by Sister Maddie once after service, her rings cold on my elbow. "You be good to your daddy. He pays $5,000-6,000 a month to help you." She said it proud, like his generosity was a good choir solo she wanted to clap for. I wanted to open my wallet and show her the receipts from Dollar Tree, show her the rent slips with my fingerprint in dirt at the bottom. The truth is, like water, it always finds the cracks. But a lie needs constant maintenance, like a bad engine. They were keeping that thing tuned, changing the oil with a fresh story every Sunday. I started keeping my own maintenance log. Everything they said, I wrote down. Everything I paid, I saved. The first small proof was a canceled check someone at Peachtree Credit Union helped me print when I walked in trembling and asked for statements. It was a check from the Green Family Trust, memo line, Marcus allowance, amount $75. The same month, a wire from that trust for $4,200 hit Daddy's account. I know because the woman at the credit union slid me a photocopy of Daddy's account page like she was passing me a hymn. She was black, old enough to be my aunt, and she looked over her glasses at me like, "Baby, I'm not supposed to," but I stared at those numbers and my knuckles cracked my pen in my fist. The check I got bounced at the corner liquor store that also took rent. "The check bounced," Mr. Patel said, and my heart broke right there between the lotto tickets and the wall of tiny bottles. But that paper I found next changed everything. I asked Beth about it at a barbecue in the church parking lot. Smoke ran around her, like a veil, while she put a spoon of potato salad on a paper plate, with a wrist that flashed a bracelet I knew cost more than my rent. "Hey, Beth," I said, gentle, respectful, "you tell folks Daddy pays me $5,500 a month?" She turned the smile on me she used on white ladies at her boutique. It was all teeth, no warmth. "Marcus," she said, and honey dripped off his name. "Don't make a scene." "I just want what's fair." "Daddy, he's confusing himself again," she called over my shoulder, louder than the music. "We send what, $5,000 a month?" Daddy nodded. I watched him nod, the way he'd nodded at the usher, like he couldn't help himself, like he didn't think I was real. "We do, son," he said. "Be grateful." I went home and wrote in my notebook. They said I was confused, but I remembered everything. I took a photo of my fridge, empty but for a half ketchup bottle. I lined up my medicine bottles, lisinopril, metformin, ibuprofen, and half of them had pills rattling like maracas because I kept skipping. Heat or meds, food or blood pressure, bus pass or bread. I took pictures of my shoes wrapped round with silver duct tape, of the mold on the bathroom ceiling I'd scrubbed until my hands burned. If this has ever happened to you, somebody telling the world they feed you while you swallow pride, what would you have done? Tell me in the comments. I ask because pride swallowed don't go down easy. The next big step came from two places. One was Miss Thelma, my neighbor, who moved slow on a walker and talked fast like she didn't have time for nonsense. She'd see me at the building door, fishing for quarters in my jacket, and she'd press $2 into my hand and say, "Pay me back when you make it, not when you got it." When I told her what folks were saying about me, she snorted. "Mr. Marcus, I watched you walk to work in a thunderstorm. I watched you carry back groceries in your arms and split a pack of hot dogs for a week. I'll testify if you need me." And the other was Reggie Cole, my old lead at the warehouse, who'd taken a temp job at some accounting firm uptown. He texted me one night, "Bro, I think I saw your name on a trust doc. You need to see this." We met up at the barbershop on Lee Street, while Mo lined up this boy's edges and argued about the Falcons, like our lives depended on it. Reggie slid me a manila envelope under his hoodie. Inside were scans, a trust balance sheet with Grandkids Education Fund at the top, my name under a column that said disbursements, and a signature that was supposed to be mine on a disclaimer of interest. The signature looked like Marcos Grain. Not my hand, not my name. Forged. You know that feeling when you see your face in a mirror on a bad day and you think, that's not me? It was like that, but for my name. Man, Reggie said, rubbing the back of his neck, they think you dumb. You not dumb. Respect ain't inherited, it's earned shift by shift, and you worked every one. I took those scans to Georgia Legal Services program the next morning, socks still wet from the rain I'd walked through. Ms. Alma Alvarez came out to the lobby with a yellow legal pad and a face that said she had time. Mr. Green, I've seen what they do to you, she told me later. After we'd gone over the papers and listened to the voicemail, Reggie helped me pull off my old phone where Daddy was bragging to Aunt Claire, we keep him humble, before he said a word about my mama's people. You don't repeat out loud. You don't deserve this treatment, and you're not crazy. This is forgery. This is payee misuse. This is breach of fiduciary duty. We can file complaints. We can ask for an accounting. But you need to understand, family sometimes fights dirty. I'll stand for whatever, I said. I just want what's fair. She wrote out steps. Get SSA records. FOIA if needed. Demand trust accounting. Gather witnesses. Take photos. Record calls if legal. Pastor might help. She nodded toward the Bible on the side table. Sometimes church elders are better court than court, sometimes both. I left GLSP, holding hope like a hot plate. Careful, careful. It could burn you if you dropped it. It was the first time in years I felt like the road ahead didn't end in a wall. My evidence binder got thick enough to hurt my wrists. Green tabs were for SSA letters, red for trust, blue for texts and photos. I had a canceled check with Marcus allowance for $50, dated the same week Beth posted from the Louis Vuitton store, holding a purse the color of money. I had a bank statement showing 5,500 cash withdrawals every month from Daddy's account for 10 years, matched to trust disbursements that were supposed to be mine. I had a notarized power of attorney with my signature on it that I did not sign, faxed at 2:11 p.m. from Daddy's office, the timestamp blooming on the corner, like a stain. The notary was his golf buddy. The memo said, administrative convenience. The convenience was theirs. The cost was mine. I asked for a sit-down before I took it to court. Family first, I told myself. I set my binder on Lydia's heavy dining room table with the monogram on the napkins, and the deviled eggs sweating under the heat of 1,000 hurt feelings. I have the receipts right here, I said. I just want what's fair. Why would you do this to your own son? Lydia dabbed under her eye like she was in a perfume ad. Beth put her hand to her chest and gasped. Daddy looked at the papers like they were written in Swahili. Marcus, he said, with that voice he used at the club, smooth as bourbon, you don't understand how these things work. Explain it, I said. Beth leaned forward, eyes wet. Daddy, he's embarrassing himself, she said, in that corporate tone she had perfected for customers. Then she dropped it low, a whisper just for me. No one will believe you over us. You should be grateful for what you have, Lydia added. We could have left you with your mother's people. We brought you into a good family. We gave you a name. I have my mother's name no matter what you do, I said. I felt the anger press at my chest, wanted to be let out. I kept it on a leash, dignity first. They said I was confused, but I remembered everything. Daddy tapped the binder with one finger, a fingernail my color would never grow. These documents are meaningless out of context, he said. You're making a scene. Again. They called me ungrateful. Drew sat quiet, eyes on his plate, a boy who had never been asked to pick a side. The meeting ended with Lydia saying, "We'll pray for you," which is what people say when they plan to do nothing. They thought I'd just disappear quietly, but I couldn't disappear from my own life. And God didn't give me quiet where truth was required loud. If this was your family, and your name, and your rent, what would you have done? Comment below if you've seen this happen. A week later, Ms. Alvarez called me. The SSA records are in. There were benefits paid for 28 months after you turned 18, all to the representative payee. None to you. We're filing a misuse complaint. I sat on my milk crate bed and shook, not the cold shake, the truth shake. The voicemail Reggie helped recover played in my ear like a movie. Daddy laughing, a slur. The words, he should be grateful for what we give him. We give him. Not we owe, not we stole, but we give. I cried so quiet, my downstairs neighbor's dog didn't even bark. Then I stopped. I put the phone down. I decided. The judge came into it because of a bag. A month back, I'd been mopping the marble of that downtown office and saw a leather trial bag sitting alone by a bench. The tag said, Harmon. I took it to the front desk. The guard called it in. A man in a robe hurried down with panic in his eyes. He wanted to hand me 100. I said, Sir, I'm just doing my job. He said, Then let me do mine if you ever need me. He was standing next to me now in the Willow Room lobby, tie straight, eyes curious. Marcus, he said, when I called and told him I needed a witness to watch a man tell the truth. I told you I'd do my job. I planned like I was loading a truck, every box labeled, every route mapped. I put my green tab pages in order. SSA letters, misuse policy, complaint. Red tab, trust disbursements, forged signatures, power of attorney, fax stamp. Blue, screenshots of texts where Beth told friends they paid my rent, with my rent receipts for cash pinned to show they didn't. Photos, my fridge, my shoes, my bathroom ceiling, my medicine bottles. I asked Miss Thelma if she'd stand by me. She said she had a dress she'd been saving for a day the Lord wanted to use her. I asked Deacon Lewis if he could come. He said, Son, the Lord hates a lying scale. I'll stand in the aisle if I have to. I called cousin Jada, who lived out in Decatur and always kept a bag in her trunk. They raided my college fund too, she confessed, voice shaking. Nobody believed me. We believe each other now, I told her. I found the morals clause in the Willow Room's contract because a man at my night job left a copy in the break room with his chicken wings. I'd been doing on-call maintenance there ever since I fixed a leak for the owner on a Sunday, and he put a master key on my ring. The clause said, plain English, no discriminatory conduct. Management may terminate events for violations. I memorized it. I practiced saying it in the bathroom mirror while the shower dripped. The wedding day came. The church part was at a place Lydia picked that had stained glass and an organ that sounded like money. I sat back behind the pillar because a whisper had gone around. Be polite to Marcus, but don't make him family. When they moved to the reception at the Willow Room, I followed. I walked in with a wrapped picture frame, handmade, a photo of me and Drew as kids after a church picnic, me brown and smiling, him pale and freckled, our knees grass-stained the same way. The usher put his hand on my chest. Deliveries in back, he said, and then lower, like we were telling a secret. He's black. Daddy glanced over and nodded like he was checking a box. That nod lit a fuse. I stepped back into the hall air, hot and close. I dialed Judge Harmon. You said to call, I told him. I'm calling? He said, I'm 2 blocks away. I texted Miss Thelma, Reggie, Ms. Alvarez, Deacon Lewis. It's time. I slid my ring key into the booth lock, and the DJ, a cousin of the bride, swore as the music went soft. Whispers cut the room. I walked to the mic like I was walking to a forklift with too much weight on it. Deliberate, hands steady, breath sank low. My name is Marcus Green, I'm 27 years old, and I need to tell you what my father did to me. I said again, this time for folks who thought my story was a rumor. Where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments. I added, because my cousin in D.C. was on live, and I wanted folks outside Atlanta to know this happens in nice rooms too. By the end of this story, you'll understand why I had to stand up in this hall. Daddy was already coming toward me, smile pasted like wallpaper. Son, he said into his private air, put the mic down. Don't make a fool of yourself. I held up the Willow Room contract like a church fan. This venue has a morals clause. I read, no discriminatory conduct. Management may terminate events for violations. An usher told me, deliveries in back. He's black. My father nodded. That breaks the clause. I looked at the owner in the back. He looked at the judge standing beside me. The judge gave the smallest nod. You can't be serious, Beth said, hand at her throat. I am, I said, and I'm going to be serious about one more thing. You tell people you pay me $5,500 a month. I clicked the remote. The projector ran through slides like a courtroom, canceled checks to me for $50, $75, $100, arrow to a bank statement showing $4,500 cash withdrawals, matching trust disbursements with my name. You told the church you pay my rent. Screenshot of Beth's text to a friend. He plays the race card. We still pay his rent every month. Next slide. My receipts for rent, paid in cash. Signed by Mr. Patel. 0 checks. You told Aunt Claire I should be grateful for what you give me. I hit play on the voicemail, the one where Daddy laughed and then said a slur. I didn't let the slur play. I clicked off before it hit. The room sucked air. We just wanted what was best for you, Lydia said, voice carrying like perfume. The paper I found next changed everything, I said. Red tab, forged power of attorney, my name misspelled, fax stamp from Daddy's office. This is illegal, I said. This is how you took Grandma's house sale trust money meant for all the grandkids and put it into Beth's wedding and Drew's down payment and whatever new thing y'all want to show off on Instagram. I may be young, but I ain't stupid. Daddy, Beth whispered, arm locked in his. Say something. This is family business, he said, hair perfect, knuckles white. This is public business when you lie about it in public, I said. I looked at the owner. 2 options. Apologize right now, and we can let these folks celebrate without the stink of your lies on the cake. Or this party ends, and either way, the documents go to court. Silence. I could hear the ice in glasses clinking, the soft chime of the DJ's light rig winding down, the faint whir of the AC over folks who worked overtime to afford those suits. I was afraid, make no mistake. My knees wanted to buckle, but dignity ain't never been about what you feel. It's about what you do while you feel it. Marcus, Drew said suddenly, taking a step. Maybe we should... Drew, Beth snapped. Don't encourage him. Judge Harmon cleared his throat. Mr. Green, he said to my father, calm like a man who knows the weight of his words, you should consider the legal implications of what's been presented. He didn't say, I owe him a favor. He didn't need to. The crowd turned. Deacon Lewis put his hand on my shoulder. Son, he said, loud enough to be heard, the Lord hates a lying scale. Miss Thelma raised her walker like a gavel. Apologize to that boy, she said, and pay him his money. I breathed and counted to 4. I restored the music and sat in the front row, I told my cousin's camera, and that's what I did. I held the mic just long enough to say, I'm not here to ruin a wedding. I'm here to tell the truth. Then I put the mic back, slid my ring key into the booth lock, and let the beat come back in. My hands shook so hard on the way to the front row, my binder papers trembled. The champagne on the table looked like a trap. Eyes went wide. People looked at Daddy not like he was a hero anymore, but like he was a man whose gas tank was finally empty, and the car had stopped in the middle of the highway. Folks murmured. We had no idea. Someone breathed. How could they do this to you? The bridesmaids whispered. That's illegal, right? Cousin Jada came up the aisle like she was walking her own truth down it. They raided my fund too, she said into the mic. The DJ forgot to turn down. Uncle Charles took my college money for Beth's boutique. Daddy sputtered. Lydia lifted her chin. Beth cried without tears. They tried to explain. It was administrative, Beth said. He can't handle finances, Lydia offered. He was confused, Daddy insisted. But the truth always comes to light, and it was shining bright enough to bleach the room. When the DJ leaned over and whispered to me, You want me to cut them off? I shook my head. Let them dance under it, I said. Let the truth be the light. The party kept on because I wasn't going to punish the groomsmen who took unpaid time off from construction sites to be there, the aunties who put on stockings for the first time in a decade, the cousins who save up to buy heels and wear them with pride even if their toes screamed. But the music sounded different now, thin and honest at the same time. After the cupcakes, the collapse came. Aunts with strong opinions lined up with their phones out like they were courtroom reporters. You should be ashamed, one told Daddy before she hugged me. Family is supposed to protect its own. The owner came over, eyes hard. We'll be reviewing the incident with our counsel, he said, to Daddy, and his tone said, "You're not our kind of client anymore." The judge exchanged cards with Ms. Alvarez, discussing injunctions like wedding favors. "We'll file for an accounting first thing Monday," she said to me quietly. "SSA will be notified. Hold on." Daddy went outside, then came back, then went outside again. Beth cornered me near the chocolate fountain like we were in high school. "You think anybody is going to hire you after this?" she hissed. "No one will believe you over me?" She said it again, like saying it twice would conjure magic. "I'm the one with the boutique. I'm the one with friends." "I'm the one with the receipts," I said. "I have the receipts right here." Lydia, who always had a scripture at the ready when it benefited her, said, "Honor your mother and father." "My mother is buried in Southview, and I honor her every time I stand up for myself," I said, "and my father has a choice to make right now." He made it. He chose silence. He stared at me like he didn't know my face, and then he stared at the judge, and he buttoned his jacket, and he said nothing. The next weeks were a different kind of tiring, the kind where your heart gets a workout watching your own life get parsed by people in suits. Ms. Alvarez filed motions I couldn't pronounce. SSA opened an investigation and sent me a letter with words like misuse and remedy. The trust firm sent a lawyer with a shiny watch to a court where Judge Harmon did not sit because he was smart enough to avoid a conflict, but he had a whisper in an ear somewhere, and the case moved. The court ordered an accounting. Daddy had to bring in boxes of papers he used to shove under his desk. There were checks for $6,300 one month, $7,800 another, always stamped with Education Marcus, always endorsed into his account. There were emails from Lydia. "Can we use Marcus's distribution for Beth's storefront deposit?" And a reply from the trustee that made my stomach turn. "If POA on file, yes." "Forged," Ms. Alvarez said. "We'll pursue charges." I thought I knew the betrayal, but the false bottom fell out when we found a letter from Grandma Green, written in blue ink, tucked in the back of a file like it was a receipt for something unimportant. "For all my grandbabies," she had wrote, "no matter their shade or where they come from, this is for school and safety." I touched that paper like it was a piece of her. She had seen me, even when the rest of them looked through me, and Daddy had taken that love and converted it into withdrawals and purses and down payments. The judge assigned to our civil case wasn't Harmon, but Judge Lee, a woman with eyes like the bottom of a pot when you've cooked down the sauce, dark and clear. She read the filings. She listened to Ms. Alvarez. She looked at Daddy like he was an old trick she'd seen before. "Restitution is ordered," she said, "and accounting will be entered into the record. The court refers the matter of forged signatures to the district attorney. Your status as a representative payee is revoked pending SSA findings. Mr. Green, any comment?" Daddy opened his mouth and then shut it. I waited for joy. It didn't come like fireworks. It came like breath I didn't know I'd been holding and could now let go. The day SSA sent me a letter that began, "We have determined misuse occurred," I sat on my milk crate bed and laid it like a napkin on my lap. I thought about buying a cake just to stick a candle in for me. Then I thought about my mama, and I cried again, old tears meeting new law. The community's swing was its own kind of storm. New Hope Baptist stood me up one Sunday, not in the little testimony corner by the plant, but right up front. Deacon Lewis said, "We owe this young man an apology," and folks nodded so hard their hats bounced. Sister Maddie hugged me with both ringed hands. "We should have listened," she said, voice quivering. "Pastor talked about Zacchaeus and paying back 4 times what you stole." We ate in the fellowship hall afterward. Fried catfish, mac and cheese, so thick it stood up, collards with fatback, while folks came by my table and said versions of, "We had no idea." I didn't want to be a hero. I wanted to be a son. But sometimes you take the love offered and you don't fuss about what shape it comes in. The Willow Room sent me a letter with a gift card for a future event, for your courage in upholding our values. I laughed when I read it. I don't have weddings to spend it on, but maybe one day, a graduation. Maybe one day, a celebration that doesn't taste like old ash and new sugar. I moved to a one-bedroom that didn't smell like the inside of a forgotten fridge, with a window that caught morning right where it turned gold. I still drove a forklift by day. The hum of those aisles felt like a song I knew by heart. And I still pushed a mop some nights, because the rent got paid quicker when your hands don't mind being wet. But I added something else too. Ms. Alvarez asked me to come speak at the West End Community Center to tell folks how to document, how to save receipts, how to call SSA and insist on records. I talked to men my age and older who took care of parents that didn't take care of them, to women who had their kids' checks in someone else's hands. If you see these signs, somebody saying you're confused, somebody telling the world they pay your way while your fridge stays empty, somebody putting their name where yours should be, get help. Legal aid exists. Churches got elders who will tell a lying scale it's time to balance. Share this to spread awareness, I told them, because the more light you throw, the fewer shadows lies can hide in. Some of my family came back around. Cousin Jada and me go to the barbershop and the salon now and then and let the gossip wash over us like warm water. Reggie became a regular at my place for Sunday dinner. We sit with Ms. Thelma in her robe and talk about the Falcons and the price of eggs and the way dignity tastes better when you cook it with people who see you. Respect isn't inherited. It's earned shift by shift. We earned it together. Daddy never apologized. Beth never said my name without a curl at the end. Lydia sent a note once. We hope you're well. It landed in my mailbox without return address. I put it in the binder. The binder is a story. My story. I'm not bitter. Hurt is not bitterness. Hurt is a bruise. It fades, but it also remembers the shape of what hit you. Bitter is a rot you water yourself. I refuse to do their work for them. The day the first restitution check landed, I took a bus I didn't have to count coins for, just to remember. I watched the city move past, the corner where I once bought a loaf of bread with nickels, the Goodwill where I found a button-down for interviews, the coffee shop I cleaned at 2 a.m. and saw law students kissing corners with futures in their hands. I stepped off in front of the Andrew and Walter Young YMCA and sat on the bench. You see this, Mama? I said to the air. Your boy learned. The sky didn't answer, but a lady pushing a stroller did. Aren't you that boy from the wedding video? She asked. That was brave. It was necessary, I said. The truth always comes to light. Sometimes I still hear Daddy's voice in my sleep, saying I was confused. Then I wake up, and the rent receipt is on the counter with my name on it, spelled right. The refrigerator hums full. The medicine bag says picked up on time. The shoes by the door aren't taped. I peel the tape off little by little in my memory, till it's all gone. I'm still a working man. Pride don't pay bills. Work does. Love does too, when it's real. Family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up when you're counting pennies for bread. When I sit at New Hope and see Deacon Lewis nod across the room, or when Ms. Thelma squeezes my hand so hard, I forget she's 94. I know I'm not alone anymore. When I talk to young men in the parking lot where the buses breathe and the day starts, I say, I may be young, but I'm not stupid. Neither are you. Don't let them make you small. When I stand at a podium at the community center with a slide that reads, Your Rights, I hear the rhythm of a story that started in shame and is ending in light. Has family ever betrayed you like this? I ask them. What would you have done? Comment below if you've seen this happen. Share this with somebody who needs to hear it. I still see that usher sometimes in my head saying, Deliveries in back, he's black, and Daddy nodding like a metronome. I see myself turning away, gathering what I needed, and coming back with a judge and a key and a clause that said what my gut had been saying for years. 2 options, I'd said, apologize or party ends. He chose silence. I chose dignity, and I put the music back on. There is a kind of revenge that don't burn the house down. It just opens a window and lets the smoke out for everyone to see. That's all I ever wanted. Not to watch him fall, but to stop watching myself be shoved down. If you're counting quarters at a register while someone says you're a burden, if you're choosing between heat and medicine while your family flexes cars with silver hood ornaments and post bags with logos that don't feed nothing, if the church whispers your business louder than your prayers, know this, there are people who will stand with you. Legal aid, elders, A neighbor with a walker and a voice like a trumpet. A judge with a memory. A friend who slides you an envelope in a barbershop. And you most of all. I used to walk to work with my hoodie up, teeth clenched, muttering, I knew then, they lied. The check bounced. My heart broke. Now I walk with my head up, and the words sound different. We won in court. They made restitution. Community turned back toward me. I'm still here. Winning didn't heal everything. It didn't give me back birthdays with a father who saw me as a whole son, or prom nights with a family that clapped without resentment, or Sunday dinners where my brown face wasn't a reason for silence. But it gave me back my name. It gave me back my work. It gave me back the right to stand in a room and be counted. I forgave him in pieces. Not for him. For me. I won't forget. The bruise remembers, but the rest of me refuses to bruise around him anymore. I got work to do. Pallets to move. Floors to clean. Papers to sign with my hand. Small business seminars to attend, young men to meet in YMCA rooms with bad coffee, and good chairs to say, keep your documents, ask questions. You are not confused. You are seen. I'm not celebrating his downfall. I'm standing in my own rising. There's a difference. By the end of this story, you understand why I stood up in that hall. It wasn't to ruin a wedding. It was to fix a scale. It was to put weight where weight belonged. It was to tell a boy who used to count coins for the bus that he was worth the price of the ride, and more. And if you're that boy, or that girl, or that elder whose child handles your check and won't hand you your mail, hear me. The truth is water. Find the cracks, let it seep, let it break, and then, when the music stops, pick up the mic, say your name, and tell us what they did. We'll listen. We'll stand. We'll turn the music back on and let you sit in the front row where you belong. Share this story, someone needs to hear it. Like, comment, and subscribe for more truth over lies. Hit the notification bell and drop your city in the comments so we can stand with you where you are.